Hey there, my name is Susan Lennart, and I've been doing a lot of film and a lot of silversmithing techniques and in the studio here on YouTube. But today I want to talk a little bit more about my origins and where I came from and what my experience is all about, has been all about. So I studied at the Art Institute of Chicago, and I went and lived in California for 7 years. In California, I found, this is back before the internet, so I found such a great stimulation, and I saw all these people who were working for themselves and entrepreneurial. And I was like, this is what I want to do. And that was when I was still 19, 20 at that time. And so I actually just saw all this artwork and all of this international work. And, you know, this is where my whole beginnings got started in that way. And when I moved back to Chicago in the late 80s, early 90s, when I moved back to Chicago, I started, really realizing that I really wanted to go into the art world. So many people constantly tell you, right, that you can't make money as an artist. Don't you hear that all the time? I have so many people that I know that were like, I wanted to be an artist, but I had to go get a real job. So, I can't tell you life has been smooth and easy every step of the way, but it's been so interesting and exciting, this path that I've taken. And, the interesting thing about it is that I have found so many different ways that you can love your life as an artist, make money as an artist, and it's like your life. Okay, here's what I found that I love to bring up. When I was in California, I was working sales jobs, and I was making good money at different times. There's times where I made really good money. And my friends and I, we would have to go out and spend our money and go to bars and go to concerts and just go blow money on clothes or anything we possibly could, because I wasn't happy. When you're not doing something that you're satisfied with and you're not happy all the way to your core, you need to spend more money. And then there was jobs that I did. I worked with an interior designer. I did visual display at Nordstrom's for a couple of years. And I found that I was so satisfied in my life that I didn't need that much. And when you're doing what you want to do and with your artwork, you don't need that much money to be happy. Isn't that interesting? Try it. Think back in your life. Just think back. It's just about being satisfied, whether you decide you want, whether it's in love, whether it's in your career. For me as an artist, I really don't need that much, Sometimes, sometimes I like a little travel, and it's been interesting for me because I can put together workshops, and we can travel to India and Morocco and Indonesia, amazing places like that. So one of the interesting things that I found, let's see, so I had a company called Lennart Collection, and I was doing in the fashion world. Oh my gosh, it's like I was in the fashion world doing jewelry and adornment, and I loved it, but life was so fast, so fast. Back then, it's like people would send runners back and forth in Chicago, so I'd have people, Nordstrom, different places like that, send runners over to drop off samples that they wanted done or pieces they wanted done. It was really fast and quick, and I loved it when I was younger. But I had my kids then. I had 2 kids that I would never take back, right? As women, the hard part is that we invite children into our life many times, or our friends. We have other priorities in our life. Men just can work their job, and they're friends with their kindergarten buddies. Most men, sorry, not all men. But women, we need to connect. We are always connecting with new communities and new groups of people. Not like guys. And it's like the men will come along with us, but for me, I grew up with 9 women in the second part of my life. We called it the G9, the Grunwald 9. This was our house. It was a 2-flat in Chicago. And we grew up with 9 women, and I can tell you it is so important for women to have a community, to feel free and open to talk and connect. And it's like it was so important to me to realize like how to connect with women, how to be with women, how to survive in your household with 9 women. Women run a household. All women, you run your household, whether it's your family or yourself or just you or your husband. We are used to running things. So the hardest part sometimes about women really getting together is that we're all powerhouses. We're used to running the show and running things. So it's amazing. One of the things that I have done through my years and years of teaching, I have a lot of women that come in, and I have learned to like really love every single person in my workshop and classroom for who they are and what they're about, and really just allowing freedom. When we allow freedom of space without judgment, us as women, we will open up to such a beautiful place and camaraderie and community and be there for each other. And that's what I love. It's like I've had quite a few groups in the past, and many of you guys have been in some of my groups, and really it's about the good of the whole. And that's always what I like to work with, because I found if we can be about the good of the whole, we can be so strong and so powerful, and we can support each other and not take away from each other. I see so many groups taking away, competing, and that's not the healthy way to be. So I want to say that years ago, when I first started teaching, I had my kids, I moved actually out to Cleveland, and I started, I was actually really sad. I cried my eyes out when I had to close down my company. I was really headed in my, for big things in my head. I had just gotten a $350,000 order for my wholesale company, which was the biggest order that I had to that day. And I had to turn it down because at that time, it's like, you just kind of follow, what they say is you follow the path of least resistance, right? So my son at that time, he got really high fevers. He was just a baby, 8 months old. He was getting really high fevers, and he started to have seizures. So I was like, okay, you know what? As much as I want to have this company, it's not worth it. Like, this is the decisions women make in their life. Guys don't make these decisions. I can tell you that I cried my eyes out, but to this day, I'm so happy that I chose people over goals and like getting there and money and all of that, So like I chose my kids and my family, and I just let go of that whole part of my studio, the whole part of, it was too hard. It's like things were in the fashion world in the early 90s. And maybe some of you guys were in there, but it's like life or death. Everything was life or death, to get your stuff done, to get the project done. Oh, you can see it on Project Runway. Oh my gosh, it's life or death. No sleep, you're crabby, life or death. And this is just fulfilling orders. So isn't that interesting? So, so for me, I was like, I have to let go of this now. Maybe I'll pick it up later. Well, I moved to Cleveland, and I actually didn't pick anything up in that part of the really hardcore fashion. And that was like a 5-6 year investment that I had going on. And I was really primed. I was working with companies like Banana Republic and Henry Bendel, Nordstrom. I was working with the Limited, had picked up some of my lines. So it was really fun to do these wholesale lines. And I'll talk about it more at a different time. That's one of the things that I teach too is this whole wholesale business. I love wholesale. So, but what I found is when I got to Cleveland, this whole new avenue opened up for me, which was teaching what I knew. And at that time I was teaching talisman jewelry, a lot of cold joints. This is when I wrote my book, Making Connections. But the women, it was mostly women that were coming in then. And I want to say, you guys, in just looking at this instance right here, I realized through time that, look, always follow the path of least resistance. I did close that door. It was really hard. All my intuition and everything was telling me, close these doors. Don't be doing wholesale now with young kids. So when I did close those doors and move, I really was looking for something new to do, and this whole world opened up to me. which was teaching, and traveling. It was pretty amazing. It was so satisfying then. But what I found was that I had two different types of students that were coming into me. So students were coming in, it was a brand new thing. It was where there were like silversmithing groups and knitting groups and enameling groups and like all these different groups, and they would hire people to come out. And right at that time, my work, I had written a couple articles, and the work, I was doing my work very, very quietly, just upstairs with my kids for a couple of years while I wasn't working. Just all this beautiful work on talisman and researching and putting all, so these quiet times in your life, you have to know where nothing seems to be happening, or you feel like for me, it's like I felt like, oh, I left that other life behind, it's never gonna happen for me, and I'm in my studio working through all of these new ideas. And building pieces. That's when I built big pieces like the poker game, because I was like, who cares? I'm just gonna build what I want. I had been studying talisman around the world for years before that. So it's like, I was like, what are my talisman as an American? And, you know, I started building the poker game that I have. And you guys can check that out online if you want to, my original talisman pieces. I just walked beaches and picked up pieces, and I was like, what are my powerful pieces? A talisman is an object that reminds you of a power energy that you want to bring into your life, or a manifestation that you want to bring into your life. You know, and it just reminds you over and over again about when you look at it, you know, when you look at it, the beauty of it, or, you know, whatever it is. Like this actually is a higher consciousness, a stone for a higher consciousness. So this is a talisman because the shape of it, the arrow, to me it's an arrow. Some people say it's a teardrop. So I had two different types of people that were coming into my life when I started teaching. One of them, these women were in their 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, even beyond 70s, and they were such beautiful, beautiful women looking for connection. And what I found is community heals. Creativity heals. These are my new mantras that you're going to hear over and over from me as I'm in this space of kind of redirecting and going in a new direction. Again, I'm looking back to like, what healed me? What was so good for me? Community heals, a vibration of setting up the energy in a space where we all can just open up and be ourselves and be about the love and the good of the whole. That heals. Like it just is so completely. So with those age groups, one of the categories were working artists that were literally working and making money in their field, all different art fields. And they were coming in just to learn new skills. And I taught like 5-day workshops that were real inspirational of like, who cares if it's jewelry? We're not gonna sit here and build a piece of jewelry to wear. We're building something for the wall. That's what we did in art school. You don't think about something functional, how it's going to look on, how it's going to look, you know, they're almost like these retreats where you don't have to worry about how beautiful is my customer going to look in this. It's about express yourself through your medium. So with jewelry during that time, my whole mantra was like teaching different connections and techniques so you can express yourself through your work. And it was pretty cool. But the other group of women that were coming in were women who were either retired or just about to retire, and they wanted to make start creating some income for themselves, so they'd have a little bit extra. Oh my gosh, as women, I was just telling my boyfriend today that women, we don't like to be cut and dry, like this is our little income here. We like this little bit of extra coming in, right? A little bit of control. We always are tucking money under our pillows from our family, right? Why do we do this? I feel like, a lot of us do this. I do that. So this group was so beautiful. Oh my gosh, I loved these women because what I saw with them, I didn't know. I was 38, 39 at the time, and just going into my early 40s when I started teaching, and I saw such strength and beauty in these women because they were going through a whole new metamorphosis, a whole new change in their life. And I got to witness firsthand. It's like, just these women just blossom and grow. And we, with these women, we form such a beautiful connection and community. So that is what I find in the art world that's so beautiful, and effective. So from there, what I came to realize after all these years and after all my big changes now, when I sold my company Ice Resin 6-7 years ago, I was in that same exact place. It's like, as I saw some of these women, it's like when I sold Ice Resin and literally had more time on my hands, all your stuff where you're so busy with raising kids, working, all this busy, my life became quiet, and all of a sudden, all of these old sicknesses, all of these old fears, all of these old panics, because sometimes it's hard when you're in business, but you don't have time to experience all of this. So it's like when people retire, I literally was lost, and I can see this now in people. It's just a big change in your life, and when you end something to get to new beginnings, you have to go through all this space of just letting go and shedding, and being in this space. It's sometimes such an ugly space to be in, but being in this space of letting go, finding your bravery again, finding your changes and who you are, and bringing all this out super strong again, and building yourself, rebuilding yourself as an artist, as a voice, and knowing how important you are. If you don't go through that experience, I've seen people who don't go through that experience and they don't feel relevant. They just feel like they're getting older and then they die, but you have to shed, you have to go through this, and you have to be okay with not feeling relevant for a little bit. And that's exactly what happened to me too. Selling Ice Resin, I used to think I was the best, oh my God, I had this big business, and then just going to being nobody, which they talk about spiritually, this feeling of nothing and nobody. When you can get to the space of being nothing and nobody, you can accomplish anything. Isn't that amazing? So this is what I'm finding out about myself for the artist and the creative. It's like you, at any age, and I'm talking about 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, you can recreate yourself and be so relevant in life. And I'm here as a coach because I have recently been through this. People who have followed me have seen me just go through, I don't know what you've seen me go through, but people have been following me. It's like to take yourself, who you're this really strong pillar, and I had a company, and to make the commitment and to be okay with myself to just fall apart. It's like the tower in the tarot cards, the tower. It has to crumble before you can build a new pillar. So I have been rebuilding and rebuilding and rebuilding, and I am at this place now where I feel like I have landed. In fact, I feel like I've landed, at least within me, back in my strength again, and my direction and where I'm going. I'm in my studio and I'm finding yes, I'm showing videos on rebuilding yourself and starting fresh, and how to get there. And one of the things that I did recently, it's like I have been in every single market pretty much in silversmithing, trained as an artist, so I know the art world so well. I've done Smithsonian exhibits for museums, I have done, which your money comes in different ways. When you do a Smithsonian museum exhibit, you actually have that for your resume, and now you've got a higher amount of people looking at you. When I had so you can actually develop museum bodies of work that you can sell for really high prices. A lot of people ask me, how should they price their work? Well, that's gonna be a different story, but that's exactly it. It's like when you're aiming for these higher, if you're aiming for it, you're gonna get there. Not a lot of people choose this. So the path of least resistance. So which one fits you better? When I did my wholesale and I was in fashion, oh my gosh, I loved it. It's like, I was such a friggin' badass then. I was snowboarding, and I'm in a community studio, so please forgive me. I dress the opposite of fashion. So when you're in fashion, You're not necessarily wearing all the clothes that everybody else say is fashionable and you need to wear it. This is about inventing. So for me, people would say, oh my gosh, for me, it was always a surprise that I was in fashion, because I was like, oh my gosh, I am the least fashionable person here. I just wear whatever in the hell I want to wear. And I actually did Milan Jewelry Week, where I won an award a few years ago, but the story I want to tell is a friend of mine joined me and she bought all the fashion. And I was like, Lisa, we're going behind the scenes. This is where we're all wearing stitched up clothing, like, we're wearing rocks, we're wearing things that are the opposite of fashion when you're in fashion. So if that feels familiar to you, you go with this style. When I did wholesale, I loved it because I did retail. Retail, you're telling your story, you're really bringing out your one-of-a-kind pieces and you can sell them for more. Wholesale, you have to find a way on how to market yourself with someone else selling it, and I love wholesale. I just love business. I've worked in business, worked with corporations, developing lines of jewelry as well. So there's so many different areas that you can make money, but you find the one that fits you right. That's what you really want to do. You don't want to just go, oh my gosh, I think I can make so much money in Hollywood working with the stylist, so I'm going to go that direction. Because when you follow your true path and path of least resistance, you will be successful. Like, that's it. I found that over and over. When I followed a path, because I'm like, ooh, I see people are doing good in that field, run. I'm going to drop here. It's much, much harder for you. It's not as rewarding. It's the beginning of the story when I talked about being burnt out in your work. When I talked about when I did jobs for money, it was not as rewarding as when I did jobs that were satisfying to me. So you always want to follow what feels good to you. Now, if you guys are in a big change in your life, I just recently got out of a big change in my life. And I'll tell more little stories as I go along, but this is just one of the stories about, really finding your way and finding your voice. My suggestion would be, is to just invest in creativity. Creativity heals. Community heals. Isolation is what is not good for you at all. Women need to connect into a community. I have a beautiful community here. I've been working my whole life connecting women, which are so important to me. I have many, many people who are in this support group that I love so much. So this is my creativity collective for visionaries here. And please subscribe if you guys do like what I have to say. And really, it's like there's a beautiful community here. I actually am doing a lot of things to grow this community. I have a membership here called Unfolding, which I meet with people monthly and we get together. I'm actually starting in September, it'll be starting a Discord community where we can all get on and see each other and meet. And really the rules really are about staying about the good of the whole. I get in there, I'm about the good of the whole. I work very, very hard to keep my consciousness high at this point. Now that I've left the, my selling ice resin and got through a lot of this hard stuff. And, really you guys, as you're thinking about retiring or you're having a baby or you're thinking about what would be rewarding for you, I'm actually going to be starting I wrote this course a few years ago. It's a complete silversmithing course that is so beautiful. It not only gets you in there and helps train you with technique, it gives you the courage. The thing I love about intentional metalsmithing is that I have, I'm a believer in simplistic tools, making things simplistic, really encouraging you for your success, because all of us as a community, the more you can be successful, the more I can in a community. Years ago, when there was a group of teachers and myself, we would teach, we were all competitive. This was before my undoing. We were all competitive, like, ooh, I want the most students. What we realized is that when we had students and buyers of beautiful pieces of jewelry or artwork or any of this, they were people that we were all training people that loved art. We loved art and we could understand art. So we were all busy training, and what happened is all of us got more buyers and more students, you know? So, you know, as we grow, and if you decide to join my group, with my group, we grow, and your success is my success. You know, we don't take away from each other. We're all like flowers, you know, all those sunflowers that you see out in Paris, you know. When one opens, it doesn't take away from the others. They're all so beautiful. We're not gonna all look alike like the sunflowers do, but we all have a different look. So in Intentional Metalsmithing, my silversmithing course, to get you to your best self, you know, in who you are. And I can tell you, creativity heals. And right away from the beginning, I'm like, look, if you don't have the people tell me they don't have the money for the course, I'm like, we're gonna start by building this. You can go out and sell it right away. You know, it's not a lot of material for your return. So, you know, you can turn things over. I love showing, working with found objects that are talisman. You know, you don't have to go out and buy the most expensive gems. Found objects are amazing. I do a lot of work with found objects. I just don't have pieces in front of me now, but you know, with crystals, found objects, tassels. You know, if you actually look at any of my work here, you know, it's like this type of a piece here. This is actually a bone that I have in here. There we go. There's a gem, but you know, just things that I have built. All of these are in my intentional metalsmithing class. It's all about symbolism. This is the abundance sign there. These are just simple little scraps of silver that I've turned into leaves to make them nice, you know, nice and give me some fringe. I'm a fringe girl. So in here, I also teach about what path do you want to go down. You know, it really is about loving. Look, if we're artists, you want to love, love, love your life. And that's all there is to it. It's like, life is about joy. I remember when you start getting too serious, oh my gosh, in business, and you don't have the joy, and you're filling orders, and you're not having fun exploring, now you're out of creativity, and you're in survival. So you want to stay in creativity. And that's what I'm making a commitment for my whole community here on the Creativity Collective for Visionaries, is this beautiful community of love and support. And I'm just going to be opening up a mentored intentional metalsmithing course where I can mentor you through a beautiful art form, and you can make it your own, and I teach you how, and I'm always here as a support system, and you'll have this for the rest of your life, or for the rest of the time that YouTube is around. You know, I actually teach this off a different, but it's mentored. So I meet with you once a week to give you, make sure you have your confidence on the tools that you're using, and you're gonna meet a beautiful group of people. People always tell me when they come to one of my workshops, or they're in my workshops, they make friends for life, because in my community, it's some people tell me, oh my gosh, Susan, you have the best people who show up for your workshops. You have the best people. So, like attracts like. So consider, you guys, take a look, check out my intentional metalsmithing course if you want to learn silversmithing. Even if you're a silversmith and you just kind of want to bump up on a little bit more. That's been a little bit of my journey, but I'm going to share more of my journey, you know, every time I show up here. So thank you for joining me, and give me a like, subscribe, and you can comment below. Let me know if this is needed for you, a community. I'm always looking for, like, what do we need? We need a big, strong, beautiful community. So please put a comment below if you have some input, and I'd love to see you join.